Caitlin Clark built a sports empire before she turned 22. Signature deals, mass appeal, and now a top 4 ranking among the most powerful women in global sports. But instead of applause from her peers, the spotlight has sparked backlash. In a league where collaboration often overshadows individual stardom, Clark's ability to draw revenue and reshape narratives without gatekeeper approval has unsettled the hierarchy. For some, her success is inspiration. For others, it's provocation. And in that tension lies a deeper discomfort. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. The fear that one player's rise is redefining what it means to succeed and who gets to lead. This growing divide is more than professional jealousy. It's a crisis of relevance. Clark's model doesn't rely on the league to validate her. She commands attention through performance, authenticity, and relentless branding. That shift exposes fault lines in an institution built on shared control. As lawsuits surface and reputations fray, the true story is no longer just about one athlete's rise. It's about how her ascent is forcing an entire league to confront the future it didn't prepare for. Caitlin Clark just landed at number 4 on Forbes' list of the 25 most powerful women in sports. Not just a breakout rookie. Not just a fan favorite. Not just a rising star. She's now officially one of the most influential people in the entire global sports industry. And yes, that includes execs, Olympic gold medalists, billionaires, and long-established legends. This wasn't a courtesy nod. This was recognition of real, measurable impact across economics, culture, and influence. It's not just about how well she shoots or how many games she wins. Caitlin Clark is bringing in revenue. She's bringing in viewers. She's selling out arenas and moving product like few, if any, WNBA players ever have. The numbers don't lie, and Forbes didn't look away. But if you thought the league would celebrate this milestone with her, if you expected them to proudly wave her flag as a sign that women's sports are evolving into something commercially massive, that's not what happened. The reaction was quiet, eerily quiet, because her rise, while historic and wildly impressive, has also revealed an uncomfortable truth. The WNBA is not entirely ready for what Caitlin Clark represents. Her success didn't come through the league's marketing machine. It wasn't a slow build or the result of gradual grooming to the traditional WNBA PR pipeline. She broke through on her own. She brought her audience with her. She built her brand outside the system and walked into the league already carrying the power of a global name. And that kind of independence, that kind of instant cultural dominance, that's not something the league knows how to handle. In fact, in some corners, it's being met with something that looks a lot like resentment. We've seen it in the subtle digs. We've seen it in the quiet distancing. And now, it's allegedly escalated to something no one saw coming. A lawsuit. Angel Reese has reportedly taken legal action against Caitlin Clark. And while the exact details are still unclear, the timing is hard to ignore. Because the announcement came just after Clark's inclusion in Forbes' power ranking went public. This isn't just a legal move. It's symbolic. A reminder that Clark's rise isn't just impressive. It's disruptive. And the disruption is shaking up more than just opponents on the court. It's forcing the entire league, players, execs, even fans, to confront some long-standing insecurities. Like, why hasn't women's basketball attracted this level of attention before? Why did it take one player, one rookie, to spark record-breaking ratings and explosive commercial deals? The answers are complicated, but the facts are not. Caitlin Clark is drawing millions of viewers. Her games are outperforming some NBA matchups in prime time. She's directly responsible for the WNBA's highest-attended games this season. Her merchandise is outselling entire team rosters. She has endorsement deals with Nike, Gatorade, and Wilson, not just ads, but full-blown campaigns with national reach. She has a signature shoe deal before finishing her first professional season. She's become a marketing powerhouse and a cultural touchstone, all while staying grounded and focused on her game. She's not brash. She's not asking for attention. She's not stirring the pot off the court. She's just playing, performing, and winning over audiences. And that authenticity, it makes her even more powerful. But it also highlights how unprepared the league was for a star of this magnitude. There's an old guard mentality that dominates women's basketball, a deeply rooted belief in shared success, team-first visibility, and humble perseverance. That model worked for decades, but it didn't bring in the numbers. It didn't produce viral moments. It didn't crash TV ratings charts. Caitlin Clark did, and instead of embracing her as the face of a new era, parts of the league seem to be pulling back, holding her at arm's length, as if her success is somehow threatening, as if it reflects poorly on those who came before her. But this isn't about disrespecting veterans or rewriting history. It's about moving forward. Clark isn't the problem. She's the proof. Proof that women's sports can be mainstream, that they can drive business, that female athletes can have just as much market value and media presence as the biggest names in men's sports, if not more. The WNBA has long talked about wanting more visibility, more investment, more respect. Now, they have the living embodiment of all three, and they don't seem to know what to do with it. That disconnect has opened the door to tension within the league. And let's be clear, some of that tension is coming from players who feel overshadowed, who spent years in the trenches without the same recognition or paydays. Their frustration is real, and it makes sense. They put in the work. They laid the foundation. And then Clark walks in and becomes the center of gravity. But the truth is, her rise doesn't erase anyone's legacy. It builds on it. What's different is that she's combining athletic excellence with branding genius. She's bringing in fans who never watched women's basketball before. She's changing the way the sport is covered, consumed, and valued. That's not a fluke. That's cultural momentum. And for the first time, female athlete branding isn't just a side note. It's the main story. Clark's inclusion on Forbes' list is a turning point. It's a public acknowledgement that her value isn't just in her jump shot. It's in her ability to move markets, to influence culture, to inspire younger athletes to think beyond the scoreboard and into their own power. And yes, that level of impact makes people uncomfortable. Because if one player can do all this without league approval, what does that say about the league's control? If Clark is building a brand without gatekeepers, what happens to the system that relies on carefully managed exposure? What happens is exactly what we're seeing. Resistance, misdirection, and now legal action. The lawsuit is just the latest escalation in a deeper conflict, a power shift. One that Caitlin Clark didn't ask for, but now owns. Not because she talks the loudest, but because the numbers speak for her. She's doing charity work. She's making media appearances. She's leading by example. And all of it is happening on her terms, with or without institutional support. That's the part that rewrites the rule book. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about how athletes, especially women, are measured. Are you only valuable when you follow the system? Or can your influence, your visibility, and your branding power speak just as loudly? Clark is proving that the answer is both. You can respect the game, dominate on the court, and still be a powerhouse outside of it. She's showing future generations that success isn't something you wait to be handed. It's something you build, with skill, with humility, and with the courage to do things differently. And that blueprint? It's now out in the open. She's not just setting records. She's setting a standard, one that challenges the WNBA to evolve, and one that shows the world what happens when an athlete dares to be more than just a player. So where does that leave us? With a league at a crossroads, with fans split between admiration and skepticism, with peers deciding whether to join the movement or resist it, and with a young woman, ranked number 4 on a global power list, who's doing nothing but showing up and letting her game speak louder than any headline. Caitlin Clark didn't ask for this moment, but she's owning it. What do you think? Has the league failed to embrace its biggest opportunity? Is the backlash fair, or is it fear disguised as pride? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you're following every twist of this drama, and make sure to subscribe. Because this story, it's far from over. What happens when one player becomes bigger than the league? Because that's what we're witnessing. Caitlin Clark, without any controversy, without any viral scandal, without even asking for it, has somehow become too big for the very institution she plays for. And that's not some clickbait headline. That's the real tension simmering beneath every awkward press conference, every cryptic tweet, every carefully worded statement from players and league officials. She walked into the WNBA already transformed into a cultural phenomenon. She didn't need the league to give her a platform. She brought her own. And with it came record-breaking TV ratings, sold-out arenas, and multi-million-dollar deals with legacy brands that had previously tiptoed around women's sports. And still, the response from inside the league has been lukewarm at best, borderline hostile at worst. Let's not pretend it's not obvious. The body language on the court, the digs and interviews, the way she's been fouled and targeted in games with a level of aggression that goes way beyond competition. And now there's a lawsuit right after she's named one of the most powerful women in all of sports. You could cut the tension with a knife. This isn't just resistance to a new face in the spotlight. This is an identity crisis for the WNBA itself. Because for years, the league has operated on a model that prioritizes collective equality, slow and steady growth, and tightly controlled narratives. And then here comes Caitlin. Fast, disruptive, media savvy, and completely unbothered by traditional boundaries. She's proving in real time that a single player can carry attention, that a woman in sports can be the brand, the story, the headline, and not in a gimmicky way, but through genuine excellence. And what's fascinating and infuriating to some is how she does it without playing into the usual tropes. She's not loud. She's not begging for attention. She's not playing a villain or the media puppet. She's composed, humble, focused, and still every camera follows her. Every game with her in it feels like a playoff event. The league knows this. So why aren't they leaning into it? Why is there such visible hesitation to promote her as the face of this next chapter? Why? Instead of celebrating her as a once-in-a-generation marketing gift, are they walking on eggshells? It all comes back to control. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just changing the visibility of women's basketball. She's changing where the power sits. It's no longer with the league's PR team. It's no longer in the boardrooms. It's with the athlete herself. She's the media moment. She's the cultural relevance. She's the reason ratings are up, merchandise is selling, and young fans are paying attention. And the uncomfortable truth is that the league didn't create her success, so they don't know how to manage it. That kind of independence is scary, especially in a system that's never had to deal with it. And let's be honest, it's not just about Clark. Her presence is revealing cracks that were already there. Years of underpromotion, years of underinvestment, years of stars being told to just play hard and hope the world catches on. Caitlin Clark didn't wait for that. She caught on first. And in doing so, she's showing future athletes that you don't need the system to bless you before you break out. That's terrifying to a structure built on waiting your turn. So instead of rallying around her and using this momentum to elevate everyone, some players are trying to dim her light. And now Angel Reese, another rookie, another breakout name, is taking legal action. The lawsuit is symbolic of something deeper than just a personal conflict. It's the fallout of a league struggling to handle its own evolution. Because Clark's inclusion on that Forbes list didn't just elevate her, it exposed everything that's not working. Forbes didn't rank her because she scored the most points or has the best shooting percentage. They ranked her because she's influencing culture, because she's shifting perception, because her name moves conversations far outside the sports world. And that kind of influence in this era is worth more than any stat line. She's not just a player. She's a business, a movement, a case study in what happens when skill meets media fluency and unfiltered authenticity. And she did it all before turning 21. That kind of success threatens an old model. It challenges long-held beliefs about how you earn your place. And it sparks resentment in anyone who spent years grinding with no spotlight to show for it. But that doesn't mean Clark's impact is any less real or less deserved. She's earned everything. From the sold-out crowds to the sponsorships to the Forbes recognition. She's not coasting on hype. She's dominating in a way that's measurable. And more importantly, sustainable. Because her power isn't dependent on one season or one headline. It's rooted in the way she connects, on the court and off. She's giving young girls a new blueprint. One that says you don't have to wait for someone to anoint you. One that proves humility, discipline, and savvy can coexist with global influence. And the sad irony? The very league that says it wants to empower women is now struggling to fully embrace the woman doing exactly that. Instead of supporting her rise, some members of the league are responding with distance, suspicion, legal filings. It's not a good look, because what message does that send to the next Caitlin Clark, or the next generation of WNBA fans? That if you become too successful, too fast, you'll be punished for it? The fact is, Caitlin Clark is doing more for the league than the league is doing for her. She's not just increasing visibility. She's actively reshaping the economy of women's basketball. Her games are commanding top advertising dollars. She's shifting how female athletes are evaluated, not just for their gameplay, but for their brand value, their reach, their relevance. That's something the WNBA has needed for decades. And now that it's here, they can't seem to decide if they want to accept it or resist it. And that indecision, that silence, that slow clap response to the Forbes News, it says everything. Because make no mistake, Caitlin Clark didn't just make a power list. She is a power shift. And with every record she breaks, every deal she signs, every young fan she inspires, the league is being given a second chance to get it right. The only question left is, will they take it? Or will they let the moment pass, held back by ego, insecurity, and outdated thinking? Clark's journey isn't just about individual greatness. It's about collective opportunity. She's the proof point of the old excuses. Women's sports don't sell, the audience isn't there, there's no market for it. Were never true. They just didn't have Caitlin Clark yet. But now they do. And the league has a choice. Evolve with her, or be remembered as a system that failed to embrace its own future. Caitlin Clark didn't ask to be the disruptor. She didn't walk into the WNBA trying to flip tables or challenge traditions. But that's exactly what happened. She showed up, played her game, and everything changed. TV ratings surged. Social media exploded. Merchandise flew off shelves. Suddenly, women's basketball wasn't a niche. It was a conversation. Not a footnote in the sports world. The main event. And for some people, that was a problem, because it highlighted something uncomfortable. It proved that the system never lacked talent. It lacked visibility. It lacked storytelling. It lacked a star that bridged the gap between athletic dominance and cultural pull. And Caitlin Clark did that without asking for permission. She didn't wait her turn. She became the turn. The league should have been ready. They should have celebrated her Forbes recognition as a win for all of them. Number 4 on a list filled with global powerhouses. That's not a personal achievement. It's a league milestone. It's proof that the WNBA has entered a new era. One where a rookie can carry the sport into mainstream relevance on her shoulders. But instead, silence, hesitation, and now the lawsuit. The timing wasn't subtle. The same week Clark is praised for her influence, she's dragged into legal drama by Angel Reese, a fellow rookie who's also under microscope. The optics are messy. The tension is real. And the underlying truth is clear. Clark's success has exposed the fault lines in the WNBA. On one side, you got the old structure, built on tradition, equality, shared success. A system that demands players rise together, slowly, methodically, without rocking the boat. On the other side, you've got a new model, built on brand power, market value, audience engagement, the kind of individual stardom that makes the league uncomfortable, because it challenges the very foundation they built everything on. Clark isn't just another player. She's a living, breathing test of what happens when the WNBA meets the influencer economy, and the league doesn't seem ready. The resentment isn't just about her talent. It's about how much she matters, and how fast that happened. She's 20 years old. She hasn't even played a full season. And yet, she's driving more growth than some franchises have seen in a decade. That kind of acceleration makes people nervous, especially people who've been in the trenches for years without the same spotlight. But here's the hard truth. Clark didn't take anything away from anyone. She added. She brought in new fans. She brought in new sponsors. She brought in hope, not just for herself, but for the entire league. And if the people in charge could see past their ego, they'd recognize that. Because the future is already here, and it wears number 22. She's not loud. She's not flashy. She's not pushing narratives. She's just showing up game after game and proving that she's worth every headline. Her success is clean, undeniable, authentic, and that's what makes it so powerful. It's also what makes the backlash so transparent. Let's not pretend the league's muted response to her Forbes ranking was neutral. That silence was loud. It was a missed opportunity. A moment where the WNBA could have stood tall and said, "She's ours." Instead, they blinked. They hesitated. And that hesitation said everything. It said they're not ready for a player who doesn't need them to validate her. It said they're still trying to figure out how to handle someone who came in with her own momentum, her own fans, her own narrative. And in that hesitation, they're risking more than just a PR fumble. They're risking relevance. Because while the league tries to balance politics, hierarchy, and legacy, the audience is already moving. They're buying her jerseys. They're watching her games. They're telling the league, with their dollars and their attention, this is the star we care about. And if the league doesn't move fast, those fans might not stick around. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent. But more than that, she's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to grow the game, to modernize the brand, to finally connect women's sports with the cultural power they've always deserved. And the clock is ticking. So here we are, a power player rising, a lawsuit brewing, a league divided, and a spotlight that won't turn off. The next chapter is coming, and whether the WNBA wants to lead it or just survive it is a decision they're running out of time to make. So where do you stand? Is Caitlin Clark being celebrated enough for what she's done? Or is the league holding back its own growth out of fear? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you're watching this shift unfold. And subscribe so you don't miss the drama, the milestones, and everything in between. Because with Caitlin Clark at the center of it all, the game just changed, and it's not slowing down anytime soon.